Hello everyone. In this video, we'll go over the vocabulary workshop Level Blue Unit 10 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started. Our first word is abolish. Abolish is a verb and it means to do away completely with something, to put an end to something. So when you abolish something, you get rid of it completely. It no longer exists or it's no longer being used. And people usually abolish things like laws, rules, systems, or just daily practices that people do when we think that those things should end. The example sentence says, "Will human beings ever be able to abolish war?" So, of course, war is a terrible thing, and most people think that we should end wars so they should never happen again. If that's something that you think, you can use this word abolish to explain that you think they should be over with, they should never exist again. Some other examples of things that we might want to abolish are things like hunger. So I can make a sentence such as, "Many people hope to abolish hunger around the world. We want to make it so that no one is ever hungry again." Or another example would be, "A long time ago, there were slaves, and eventually we abolished slavery because it was unjust." So, of course, having a slave, having ownership over another human being is not a good thing. It's awful. So, it was something that was eventually abolished. Another example would be something like a dress code at a school. Maybe there is an unfair dress code at your school, such as the rule that when you wear something like shorts or a skirt, it has to reach past your fingertips. Unfortunately, some people have longer hands than other people. So just because your hands are longer, that means you have to wear shorts that are longer. To some people, that felt like an unfair law or rule. So I can make a sentence like, "The school decided to abolish the old dress code." If you could abolish or end one thing in the world, what would you choose? The next word is appeal. Appeal can be used as a noun or as a verb. And as a noun, it means a sincere or strong request for something that is needed. It can also be a quality or ability that attracts or interests people. And finally, it can be a request to a higher court for review of a legal decision. So there are a few different meanings to this word appeal. And let's look at this first one. A sincere or strong request for something that is needed. An example of this would be like in this picture here. This is a box for donation full of cans and other food items that people might need if they are homeless or if there was something terrible like an earthquake or a flood that caused people to lose their homes. So they would need food items and maybe clothing items. So I can make a sentence like, "The charity made an appeal for food and clothing donations." So this charity, this kind of like a company who is trying to gather these items to help people, they made an appeal. That means that they are requesting, they're sincerely asking for these things because they are needed. So we can use the word appeal in this way when we are asking or requesting for things that are needed. The second way of using the word appeal in blue here was a quality or ability that attracts or interests people. So it can be the special thing about something that makes people like it. For example, this example sentence says, Some people don't understand the appeal of video games. So they don't understand the quality or the thing about video games that makes others like video games. Another example of this would be the appeal of the amusement park is exciting rides. So the quality or thing about amusement parks that attracts people are the exciting rides. So anytime you're talking about a special quality or part of something that makes people like it, you can talk about the appeal of that thing instead of just saying the quality of that thing. The final way we can use this word is this meaning in green, a request to a higher court for review of a legal decision. So we can use this word appeal when someone has gone to jail or prison, for example. And after they've already been sentenced to prison, so they're already there, then they can make an appeal, which means that they want the judges to review their case one more time. Basically, they want them to check again that the decision the judge made to put them in jail was the right one. So we would call that an appeal. Now, we can also use the word appeal as a verb. The meaning is the same. The only thing that changes is we're using it as a verb instead of as a noun. So instead of referring to it as the appeal, it now turns into an action, like this example sentence, our class will appeal for aid for the homeless. So remember, appeal can be to ask strongly for help. So you're requesting for help. And that's what this example sentence is talking about here. Our class will appeal, or they will ask for help so that we can aid the homeless. If I were using the verb to talk about the second meaning, for example, to be attractive or interesting, which is the same as this one here, some quality that makes something attractive or interesting to people, then I could make a sentence like this one. I could say, the movie does not appeal to me because I do not like scary stories. So it's not attractive to me. I don't like scary movies. I don't like that quality or that thing about scary movies. So it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't interest me. And the last meaning, to request review of a legal decision, is the same as this one up here when it was a noun. We're just changing the way that we're using it. So instead of saying the judge will review his appeal, for example, we can make a sentence like he appealed the decision of his trial. The next word is brittle. Brittle is an adjective and it means easily broken, snapped, or cracked, not flexible. For example, the pages of the old book had turned brittle. So when something is brittle, it can break, crack, or snap easily because it's hard and not flexible, or maybe it's very old and dry, or maybe it's very thin. So anything that is like that can be described as being brittle. Some other examples would be the old book's pages had become brittle with age. So when books get older, their pages become old and they might break off easily. So I can say that the book became brittle. Another example would be something like this branch of a tree. I can say the dry branch was so brittle that it snapped in half. It was very easy to break. It was not something that is flexible, so you can snap it in half easily. It is brittle. I could also say something like, thin ice can be brittle and dangerous to walk on. It's very thin, so if you put too much weight on it, you might be able to fall through the ice. So this thin ice can be brittle and dangerous. Lastly, I could say something like, The drought made the grass brittle and dry. Since it was dry, it can be broken off or it can just die very easily. So it is brittle. The next word is condemn. Condemn is a verb and it means to criticize a person or action as wrong, guilty, or evil. To judge as guilty and to punish. So when you condemn something or someone, you say in a very strong way that it is wrong or it is bad. For example, the judge is expected to condemn the defendant to life in prison. So that's where this second definition here would come in. And a defendant would be the person that we think has done something bad. So the criminal or the bad guy, and the judge condemning them means that the judge is saying strongly that he is guilty and that he needs to be punished. So that's what this sentence is talking about here. Some other examples for this word condemn would be something like, many people condemn bullying and cruelty. People think that it is wrong, it is evil, we should not bully other people. So we condemn it. Another example would be, the community condemned the vandalism at the park. Vandalism is something like this when people destroy a building or wall or other things in the community by painting on them like this and making them look a little bit ugly or old. So that is vandalism. They might break windows or do paint on walls. So the community usually condemns this kind of thing. They think that it is wrong and it is not good. And another example would be, let's say there is a company that is releasing pollution into a river or a lake, then the people might condemn that company for polluting the river. They might say that they are guilty and they are wrong for polluting this river. So anytime that you want to say someone is wrong or guilty, you can use this verb condemn to say so. The next word is descend. Descend is a verb and it means to move to a lower place from a higher one, to come or be handed down from the past. The example says, we watched the climber descend the cliff. So descend is just when you are going down. You were somewhere high and now you're going somewhere lower. So just like this example, there might be a climber that climbed up the side of a mountain and now they are going back down. So they are descending the mountain. Another example similar to that could be the hikers began to descend the mountain before sunset. So they started going down before sunset. Or we often use this word, for example, when we're talking about things like airplanes or helicopters that are up high in the sky. I can say, the airplane started to descend toward the airport. It started to go down. Or another good example would be an elevator, because elevators go up and down. I can say, the elevator will descend to the first floor. So it will go down to the first floor. The second meaning of descend, to come or be handed down from the past, means that something can be given to you from people in the past, usually from your family that lived a long time ago. For example, if one of your ancestors had a beautiful ring that was given to the younger family as time went on, then you could say that ring descended from your ancestor, or it came from them. It was passed down to you from them. We can also talk about traditions in that way. I can say this tradition descended from our ancestors, or it came down from them. The next word is dictator. A dictator is a ruler or leader who has total power. So they are similar to a king. They do not let people have much freedom. They are the ones who decide all of the laws and the rules that the country has to follow. And usually people cannot vote or tell them what they want to happen because the dictator is the one who has all the power and chooses what they want to do. For example, there is a dictator in North Korea who decides what everyone in that country can and cannot do. Sometimes my older brother acts like a dictator. So we don't only have to use this word to describe an actual leader of a country, we can also use it to describe people who maybe are acting like they have all the power, like they can tell other people what to do. So if you have an older brother who's always trying to tell you what to do, then maybe you can say they are acting like a dictator. I could also say people wanted freedom from the cruel dictator. Or the dictator had total power over the government. Another example would be a dictator does not usually allow free elections. The next word is expand. Expand is a verb and it means to open up, make or grow larger, to develop. So when something is expanding or when it expands, it gets bigger or it grows, such as a balloon, like in this video here. And you can expand things like balloons. You can expand on your ideas to make them bigger. You can expand your knowledge to learn more things. You can expand a company to make it bigger. Or you can even expand a room or a house if you want to make that room or house bigger. The example sentence says, the principal plans to expand our classroom. So maybe your classroom is right next to another classroom that is not being used. And instead of having two separate classrooms that are a little bit small, then maybe the principal plans to get rid of this wall here in the middle and just have one big classroom. So she expanded the classroom. She made it bigger. I could also make a sentence like, balloons expand when you blow air into them. They get bigger. Or the company wants to expand and open more stores. So it doesn't mean that one specific store is getting bigger, but by expanding the company, maybe you are opening more than one store. That also means the company is getting bigger. And you can also expand your knowledge. So I can make a sentence like, reading books can expand your vocabulary. And your teacher might often ask you to expand your answers, for example. So if you give a very simple answer with only a few words, he or she might ask you to expand it by adding more details to it. The next word is famine. Famine is a noun, and a famine is a severe shortage of food over a large area. The example says, children especially suffered during the famine. So a famine is a very serious time where there's not enough food for everyone. And during a famine, many people may become hungry or sick since there's not enough food. An example would be, a long drought can sometimes lead to a famine. Since there's not enough water to grow crops, that can cause a shortage of food or a famine. I can also say, farmers lost their crops and the famine became worse. Or maybe, people sent food and supplies to help those affected by the famine. If there was a famine going on in one country, but other places are okay, we might be able to send food there to help with the famine. Of course, everyone is suffering when there is a famine, but just like this example sentence says, children especially suffer during famines since children need more food and more minerals and vitamins to grow strong. Our next word is portable. Portable is an adjective, so we're using it to describe an item, and it means easily moved or carried. When something is portable, you can move it easily from one place to another. They're usually very useful because you can take these portable things with you wherever you go. The example sentence says, Dad put a portable crib in the trunk. So a portable crib might look like this here. A crib is the place where a baby sleeps. And since this is a portable crib, it can be packed up into this small bag here. So if a family is going on a trip, they might take a portable crib with them for their baby. It's especially useful since a hotel might not have a crib for the baby to sleep in. Another example would be something like a portable speaker. So a portable speaker is something that you can connect your phone to, and then it will play your music so that it's a little bit louder. So I can say, we used a portable speaker to listen to our favorite songs at the beach. Or another good example is a laptop. I can say a laptop is more portable than a desktop computer. If I want to go study at a coffee shop, I can bring a laptop with me, but I cannot bring a desktop computer with me because it's not portable. And another example would be something like a portable stove like this one here. So I can say, we used a portable stove while camping. You can take this stove with you anywhere and make food when you are camping. The next word is pray. Pray can be used as a noun or as a verb. As a noun, it is an animal hunted as food by another. So we know that prey are the animals that are usually the food of other animals, such as mice or things like deer and antelope, or even smaller fish are the prey of larger fish. Prey can also be something or someone that is helpless against attack. So someone who is not very strong and they can't defend themselves when they are attacked by others. Someone who is weaker, for example, would be prey. The example sentence says, the documentary showed a lion stalking its prey. Just like in this picture here, you can see that the lion is waiting carefully in the bushes before it attacks its prey. Another example would be, the owl silently caught its prey. And we can also use prey as a verb. The meaning is the same, we're just using it as the action now. So we are doing this action of hunting. Prey as a verb means to hunt for food, to harm, rob, or take advantage of. The example says, only a bully would prey upon the weak. So people who are bullies are often attacking those who are weaker than them. So a bully may prey upon someone who seems afraid. Or I can say something like, sharks often prey on smaller fish. They often attack or eat or hunt smaller fish. So again, we can use prey to mean the noun, the things that are getting hunted or getting hurt because they are weaker. Or we can use it as a verb to describe the act of hunting or the act of harming someone who's weaker. The next word is thrifty. Thrifty is an adjective and it means careful about spending money, tending to save money, managing money well. So when someone is thrifty, they are being very careful with their money. A thrifty person tries not to waste money and they look for smart ways to save their money. The example says, "My parents are teaching me to be a thrifty shopper." So in this sentence, they're basically teaching you to be someone who is smart about spending their money. We don't just want to buy the most expensive thing or spend all that our money at one time. We want to be a little bit thrifty to save our money. Some examples would be, "My mom is a thrifty shopper who always looks for sales." So someone who's thrifty might look for a sale like this one, where you can get 2 of one item for a set price. Or I can say something like, "Buying used books can be a thrifty choice." So instead of buying a new book, which might be more expensive, you might be able to buy a used book that's still very good, but less expensive. That is a thrifty thing to do. Another example would be, "My grandpa is thrifty and fixes things instead of replacing them right away." So if something is broken, most people will throw it away and buy a new one. But if you are someone who is thrifty, like the grandpa here, then you might repair the thing instead of buying a new one right away. So being thrifty, it does not mean you are being cheap. It just means you are spending your money very wisely. The final word is visual. Visual is an adjective, and a visual means having to do with sight or seeing. So a visual, we usually say it together with the word aid, by the way. Not always, but sometimes this word might be attached to it. And a visual aid is something that you can look at, like a picture or a chart or a map or some kind of diagram that helps you better understand an idea. The example sentence says, "The math teacher likes to use visual aids." And by the word aid means help, something that helps you. It helps you when you see this thing. That's why we call it a visual aid. So an example of that would be this here. This is a visual aid of the water cycle. So I can make a sentence like, "The teacher used a visual aid to explain the water cycle." So this picture helps students understand how water goes up into the clouds and then comes back down again. Without this picture, it might be a little bit difficult for them to understand it if they're just reading about it, for example. Another example would be, "The map gave us a visual idea of where the countries are." So when you look at something like a map, you can really see at where the countries are located and how far apart they are from each other. That's why it gives you a visual idea. It helps you see and understand. I could also make a sentence like, "The video gave students a visual explanation of how volcanoes erupt." So again, instead of just talking about it or reading about it, we have something we can look at and see that helps us better understand it. Those things are called visuals. So if someone is trying to explain something that's difficult to you and you're just not understanding, then you might say, "I need a visual," or "Do you have a visual that can help me understand it?" And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!